has been doing this for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah.
And the clock is going to be right, James.
Live, Chris.
And good morning and welcome to Your Future is Now. The great Krista McAuliffe says, I touch the future because I teach. Again, we say welcome, and I'm just so honored today to host The Future is Now with none other than the great Bishop.
Oh, God bless you, Pastor. I am just honored to be here as well. And I am just so excited about our opportunity to share some things today. We have some phenomenal guests with us, people that have definitely impacted the community, and I just can't wait to hear their story.
Absolutely. Before we get into today's broadcast, we pause to honor the life and legacy of Rosalind Carter, who died yesterday at the age of 96. Mrs. Carter was the First Lady of the United States when her husband, Jimmy Carter, served as the 39th president between 1976 and 1980. Our prayers are with the family and President Carter as he is in hospice care. And as we pray for them during this time of bereavement, we have no other choice but to just reflect on their leadership that centered around service. And today, we are honored to have two servant leaders in the house to join us. So we ask them to introduce themselves and their professional roles to everyone out there in podcast land. And we'll start with Mr. Hauser.
So good morning, everyone, and it is an honor to be invited to be here this morning. So my name is John Hauser, and I am the principal at Wayne High School in my 11th year.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for inviting me to share this morning, and I'm honored to be a guest on your show, particularly sitting next to this amazing man, Principal Hauser. My name is Joe Jordon. I have the pleasure of serving as the CEO and president of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Indiana.
You know, the Fort Wayne Community School District has done so many amazing things as we think about the development of our youth. And I personally know John, we've worked together as principals, and I have always admired him afar, his passion for children, and then his understanding about doing the right thing at the right time. So the timing of his life, I heard some news. I don't know if he wants to share his news or not about him, but he's still not going away. No matter when you retire, it's just something about the passion of an educator. It's just always there. So John, why don't you start us off today and talk a little bit about your journey, your educational journey, and then what's happening differently now with the district when you think about new tech and the opportunities that you're giving kids these days.
Well, it's been, this is year 40 for me
Wow.
in education, 37 in Fort Wayne.
Bless.
And I just think my excitement and even moving forward and looking forward is that we've gone really from a schoolhouse. When I came to Fort Wayne in 1987 to begin my teaching in Fort Wayne at Elmhurst High School, was really allowed, everything stayed within that classroom. Today, I would say that we're excited because, sitting next to me, Mr. Jordon here, our success is going to be magnified because of a relationship that we can build with his facility, with his people. And I think that's probably been the greatest change that I have witnessed. And then I know it's only going to go beyond that as we move forward. That I made a comment to Dr. Daniel maybe 6 months ago. We used to be fearful of the Department of Education, and we still have to maintain that. But right now, our biggest, I think, investment is in how do we work better with our community,
Absolutely.
Yes.
whether it's businesses, nonprofits, but it's every individual and the leaders of the community, like Joe. How do we get them into our building in front of our kids so that they can see the possibilities and that dreams can be realized?
I think the synergy of such a movement is definitely beneficial to our community. And it is cool that we've gone outside our own four walls. And Dr. Jordan has just been such a giant in our community. His face is probably on every poster around the city. He's like a Fort Wayne hero, but his heart speaks loudly for children and for the youth of our city. So let's listen to your story, and then we're going to talk about how we put these two together.
Yeah, I love what John said because I believe it takes a collective impact to work with these kids nowadays. We know that school systems can't do it by itself. The kids are coming to the school buildings with multiple challenges, and so and for the school district to embrace and invite other entities that's working with their children to come in and say, hey, how do we do this together? That's the most impact that we can make for our children. And Fort Wayne is a very unique community. I think we are very unique in a way that we can get it done. We're big enough and we're collective mindset enough that we can move the needle for our kids. We just got to do it, right? And we're doing it, but we need more do it to it. So, yeah, education is huge for me. It changed the trajectory of my life, my family's life. I'm the youngest of 10, and we grew up in very, very impoverished areas. Never had any money, but my mom and dad believed in education, even though they were not educated themselves, coming from the deep South to Fort Wayne. So they pushed us towards education. And so thank God for my older siblings who took advantage of it. So we just kind of followed in their footprint. So what happened to our family, we broke the cycle of poverty.
Yes,
My
yes.
my son, my nephews and nieces never seen poverty because of education and taking advantage of opportunities and doing the right thing and staying out of systems, right? Criminal justice system,
Yes,
child support.
absolutely.
Yes.
Just doing the right thing and being productive adults have changed the trajectory of my whole family life. And so I'm very proud of that. So education means the world to me. But what's more important than education is mindset, right? Trying to make sure that you
Yes.
are a person that's going to add value wherever you be, right? So and my mom and dad instilled that in us as well. You know, don't go places where you're not going to add value. If you don't add value, leave, right?
Yes.
So we try to add value no matter where we are.
You know, you talked about adding value, Joe. Many people know you from your role with the Boys and Girls Club, but folk who go back with you a ways remember you from East Wayne Street Center.
Yeah.
And even before that, you had a career in corporate America,
Yes.
even going back to Slater Steel.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you know me
with
too well.
Tell the whole story.
do my homework.
Yeah,
I love it.
amen.
So, with that being said, talk about making the shift
Yeah.
from business and industry to nonprofit management, nonprofit leadership.
Yeah, I think all of us get to a point in life where you have to start looking at where you're investing your time and energy. We only have a finite time to be
Yes.
on this earth, right? So how do we maximize it? So I was working in corporate America, and I really liked their pay. I really liked their pay. But unfortunately, I was feeling empty. I was feeling like I was going to work, spending a lot of time, energy, and coming home, nothing. I didn't feel like I was really making an impact. And so I had an opportunity to run a non-for-profit that was it was an amazing not-for-profit, but it just needed to come into the 21st century, right? And so I took advantage of that. I took a serious pay cut because I knew that I had a chance to build something special, and most importantly, make sure I lived a life of significance, right? You know, success is about getting things for yourself. I was successful at the corporate world, right? I was making
Yes.
good money, that type of thing, but I didn't feel like I was giving anything back. So this provided a life of significance for me. Everything I did and do from that point on was all about helping other people. So that's why I made the switch, and I thank God I made the switch. I spent a lot of time in my role at the club and in my volunteer roles, but it's all worth it because it's all about serving people.
You know, I just mentioned to someone the other day, we were talking about success, and it really is not the top of the ladder. The top of the ladder really is being significant
Yes.
and having a life of meaning. And I believe that's what we as educators try to
Absolutely.
do. I know in the school district we've made some shifts. We've acknowledged the fact that almost like the triune man, that we're body, soul, and spirit. And so we've acknowledged now some social emotional needs of young people that would help support the kind of mindset you're talking about, Dr. Jordan. So John, talk to us about some of those social emotional learning opportunities that are now available for students that weren't available, actually ignored back in what I call the day.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, and I feel really that's been some of the excitement, and this is even pre-COVID.
Yes.
We were being introduced to the idea about, are you a trauma informed school, and how are you? And I really do. I believe this. I've always talked about, like, the best professional learning that we could ever offer to any adult in our building is teach them how to say good morning every time they see a student come by, especially at that. And I know our students at Wayne probably think that I'm a little bit too noisy, too loud in the morning, a little bit too much energy, but just saying good morning and we're going to have a good day. But then, that, and again, I think that talks about your mindset. The mindset is that we enter the building knowing that our students are going to be better with us than without. So how do we get them to
Yes.
come? How do we improve attendance? How do we get them to have more engaging conversations with us when we do see them? And cafeteria and lunches, for me, provide that opportunity, whether it's the lunch line or being in the cafeteria. But the district really has honed in on, we have to take care of our students' mindsets, and we have to take care of their social emotional states. And so we've done the work with the brain research. We've taught our kids about how their brains operate. We've given them strategies, and I think what we try to do is, we know weekends can be tough for our kids.
Yes.
Weekends are tough for our adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we make sure that when we come back to school on Monday mornings, and I just left this, when I came here, but we start Mondays with the social emotional learning activity, and obviously with the week that we have right now, it's all around gratitude.
Yes.
Yes.
We share this thought, and then I'll finish, but it's like, there but by the grace of God go we, and
Yes.
we
Absolutely.
we have a lot of poverty in our school. We have a lot of struggle. We have a lot of trauma. But the bottom line is, we're still very, very fortunate. We're in a good school. We're surrounded by, I feel we're surrounded by very, very caring adults. I am surrounded by 1,400 students who I think care about me and will take time out of their day to make sure that I'm in a good spot as well. And I think that's been one of the transforming things, not just at Wayne, but I think in schools across the district, that we care about one another. We want to see success, and I think we don't worry so much about. It's not always going to be measured in test scores, because there's just
That's
too many
it.
of us that
So
couldn't
Right.
come up with a positive test score.
Right.
Speaking for myself, my test score was not what put me in my position. And I think, and again, we've surrounded our students with leaders in the community that give us a sense of, I can do this, because George Jordan's a Fort Wayne Community Schools graduate, and I know that I can, if I follow that path, and I see the positive things that he's doing, I can do that as well.
Awesome.
John, as you talk about educating the entire child, the whole child, talk to us about some of the opportunities that a student would have at a Wayne High School, because you're actually a school within a school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
we have a school
before,
within a school. So so we call it Wayne Traditional. So Wayne High School has 1,400 students in it. We have about 1,050 that are on a traditional curriculum, and really not just curriculum, but a traditional pathway of learning. And then we have probably the most vibrant program, I think, in the district, which is our New Tech Academy, and it's a small learning community, and I think that becomes very, very important when we talk about the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade and then into the 4 years of high school. Is how small can you make your community so that we can get to know students, and students can get to know adults and their peers. And so New Tech has been, really a leader in our district around connecting with community, developing, something that we call agency, where kids advocate for themselves. They take care of themselves. When they think that they need a boost, they don't wait for an adult to say, "Hey, are you okay?" But they may tug on your on your elbow and say, hey, I really need to talk to somebody later on today. Do you have time for me? And so agency's been very, very big there. And then, they have changed the way that we learn in many ways by you put a problem or a project in front of students, and you say, I need you to work in a small group, and I need you to go at it and come up with the best solution that you can. So I think those opportunities that create attachment. I think so much of it is about what can I do besides the 7 period day, whether it's athletics, whether it's theater, whether it's the marching band, whether it's our speech debate team, whether it's any of our clubs. What attachment and investment can I give back to that school, because I am going to find more value in myself, and then I'm also going to be with like-minded people, like-minded students more often. And I think that's really a big push for our kids, and that helps them out.
I was at Prayer Works a couple of weeks ago at Electric Works. There's a place where you can go and pray. And I was with another lady, and the school buses pulled up in front of Prayer Works. So we said, let's go out and just pray for the bus drivers, because, they do
Yes.
have a challenging
yeah.
job. So we went out and we were talking to the bus drivers, and then the kids began to come from Amp Lab to board the buses, and they were Wayne High School students. And those students were so excited. They all had smiles on their faces. So we got a chance to interact. And I got a special blessing because here comes my grandson
Wow.
to board that bus. But just the joy I saw on the faces of those young people really touched my heart. And I think about the synergy between school and community. And if I could have a visual, I would say, look at the two of you and the connection you've made. But Joe, on your arm, now you've brought other resources to the district. So talk to us about some of those other resources. You're going to have that whole block pretty soon that you're bringing
we've
to our
been-
city. That's helping our children.
Yes.
It's amazing how much Boys and Girls Club have expanded in the 15 years I've been there. The relevancy and the footprint that we share, not only in our community, but other communities across Northeast Indiana. All of these expansions were unsolicited, right? People wanted us in their communities, and
Wow.
we saw a need, and our strategic direction is about growth in relevancy, making sure that we grow while sustaining a high quality of programs. And we've been able to do that because of partnerships like Fort Wayne Community Schools, Ivy Tech, and a number of other partnerships that we've established. People ask me all the time, how did you grow so quickly and so well? And it's because of partnerships. It's strategic partnerships, making sure that when those expertise that we don't have, we're not educators,
Yes.
right? We love children. We build great relationships with kids and and their parents, and we know that the kids need more than just relationships. So that's why we bring in entities like Fort Wayne Community Schools, Ivy Tech, and those other entities that give us that educational arm, right? So my job is to really look out the resources out in the community. Say, can that help my kid become a productive adult, and then we bring them in or take the kid to the location. We just started a workforce development program. The Jim Kelly Career Pathway Center is just amazing what's happening there. We see that as creating pathways for kids who may not be able to or interested in going to college, right? Giving them a really good roadmap to a career that's going to be productive for them. Because what happens to our kids, if they're not going to college and they don't really have a career track, they get out of school 2 or 3 years later, they go, man, I messed up. Where do I go now? And that's when problems happen. We're trying to get
Right.
kids before they graduate, make sure they have a plan for their future, and this is what this program is all about. And we also helping with the labor shortage in our community. So there's a lot of synergy around community engagement, helping in local employers find quality applicants for those jobs. And so we're just connecting an uninformed youth to career pathways that's out there. Basically, that's what we're doing.
You said something very powerful that I think all leaders need to remember, and that is that none of us are total packages.
That's it.
And that we do need each other. So many times
Absolutely.
we might interface with someone that is not a collaborative partner, But we realize, especially the older we get and the more challenging life becomes for all of us, that we really do need to work together. And so when I think about the project-based learning that you mentioned, John, and that I've had a chance to visit the Jim Kelly Center, and I was amazed.
Thank you.
Education is just so different now.
Yes.
So talk to me, both of you, perhaps about the level of student engagement. I mean, I know how excited I was, and it's like, whoa, they didn't have this when
Yes.
I was in school. But now it's
Yeah.
just amazing all the opportunities that you give students that are hands-on that can really thrust them directly into a career. That's phenomenal. That's a miracle right there.
Right.
It
So
is.
how did that happen?
Well, I'll say this. I think, and first of all, you have an organization like Joe was just talking about that really I think has always been about the welfare of the child. And I'll say a couple things that as a high school principal, when you because you talk about buses, when you put students on the bus at 2:35
Yes.
and they're pulling off your lot, I think sometimes the most impactful time is that next 3 or 4 hours
Yes.
before
Yes.
dinner. And we talked about who's at home when you get home
Yes.
and what's happening there. And so our students and all the students who have that opportunity that from 2:30 to 6 o'clock and the programming that you offer is amazing. And then now that you have just 2 doors down, a place that even when I went, I don't know, I'd like to know what your welding score was because my welding score, I couldn't get my
They
welding
didn't even
score
give me the test.
I did not get my welding score into the 90s, and I took it 5 times. So, but we have an opportunity to, and these are going to be great jobs,
Yes.
and much needed jobs.
Yes.
And so, just that opportunity there. You've mentioned Amp Lab, which, as we look at the world changing toward creativity, we've talked about how we have stifled creativity for so long and entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and the ability to go into one of the gems of our city and learn in that environment surrounded by the businesses
Yes.
up and coming businesses. That's why I think students would walk out of that facility thinking, all right, this is I could see myself doing this. I sometimes as a teacher of literature and in the 80s and 90s thinking that every student needed to be able to figure out, Hamlet and read Shakespeare. And if you couldn't, you may not make it in the world. I mean, we contributed to that. I contributed to this
Right.
what I would say shortage of let's get hands-on and let's go back and rebuild this country and our economy and find worthwhile careers that are going to help out my community and allow me to really give my children and my family a better opportunity than what I would have had.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well said, John. I don't really have a lot to add to what John said, other than what you see now is kids seeing themselves in the future.
Yes.
A lot of
That's
our
right.
kids have lost hope. And when you lose hope, I don't care how old you are,
Right.
you psychologically die. And we can't afford our kids to be 14, 13, 12 years old walking around hopeless. And so what we're doing now with this hands-on project-based learning is kids now see themselves in the future and they change their mentality because they see themselves in the future. So to me, that's the biggest change that we're doing. And I'm so happy that our major school system is embracing that. And not, if my score was based on Hamlet, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm glad you.
We had to change. We had to change.
Yeah.
John, before the taping, we were talking about the opportunities that Wayne High School has to partner with Ivy Tech through the early college program. Talk to us about that opportunity in case there's any parent out there in podcast land.
Well, certainly. So, a little nugget that Wayne High School is graduating more students with an associate's degree than any of the high schools around in this area, and that is really a testament to the faith and the investment that Ivy Tech has made in establishing an early college program at Wayne High School. It started 10 years ago, very, very small. And really the idea about the concept of early college is we need to allow students who would never have thought that college was available to them because, as you have said, it wasn't in front of me. It wasn't. It's not my older siblings. My older siblings didn't go. My parents didn't go, and I was a first generation college student. My father was a concrete man, and with not a high school diploma. My mother did, but my father just didn't see the need to finish, and he went and worked with Schenkel Construction in the 1950s. But early college has really allowed students to do some wonderful things, learn at a more rigorous level, but also start knocking out college at a time in their lives where they would say, I think I can do this. This is
Yes.
something for me. And then when they finally graduate from, whether it's from Ivy Tech in the first week of May or from Wayne High School in the first week of June, they can go places. And, we have a great situation where I was just trying to reach out with some of our students. And so we have a young lady who graduated in 22 and went to North Carolina A&T. And I said, well, hey, can you just, do you have any idea how many of your dual credits that they accepted? Because, Ivy Tech will push hey, in the state of Indiana, this is as powerful as it can be. But if you go outside the state, it's kind of a crapshoot. So she pulled her profile up, and she's sitting there in the spring of her freshman year. I'm talking to her on the phone, but she is considered a junior because
Wow.
she took 52 credits with her to North Carolina A&T. They took every one of them. And we have students who are going to earn a master's in 4 because they're arriving to a business school with already 2 years taken care of, and they'll graduate with their bachelor's sometime in their sophomore year, and then they'll start their master's program right away. We have a couple of those stories at Indiana Tech most recently. So it has been really a game changer for a lot of our students. And we're such a diverse school at Wayne High School that it's one of the things that I'm very proud of is that the diversity of our early college program and those students who are graduating with the associates look like Wayne High School.
awesome.
And that's a huge victory for us.
It's amazing.
I think about, as we're talking today, the parents. We mentioned the parents just briefly. And parents have unique challenges these days as well. I can recall during my time as a principal, I was talking to this one dad, and he was concerned about his child's math grade. And he said, I just don't understand this math grade. I work with my child every day. And he went on and on and on. I said, and I really believe you are. I said, tell me the kinds of things you're doing. So he began to share the kinds of things that they were doing in math. And then I took some sample release items test questions. I said, these are the questions now that students are going to be asked on the exam. And he looked at it. He said, oh, my goodness. I said, so there's a big disconnect, even for our parents who used to be able to give support in basic areas with kids' education, which now, as you look at the rigor of the assessments, no matter whether we like them or not, it's a part of life. So I think that we have a responsibility just to communicate that rigor to families and whatever we can do to help families understand that, because I've learned that every parent wants the best for their child. I've never met a parent yet that did not want the best for their child. But sometimes those tests can be such a dinger to their mindset. It's like, I've worked really hard on this project and now this happens. So what are we doing now to encourage, to include and embrace the families, especially the parents?
Well, I think our number one goal always is to make sure every parent when they walk into our building feels welcome.
Yes.
They not everyone, and I don't even my high school time wasn't spectacular, and I know that we have parents who, when they're walking from the parking lot to our front door, they're like thinking, school was never something that I was excelled in, but I want better for my children. And our goal and our job is to make sure that we welcome that parent in and to share like you did. I mean, that's share with them. This is the level of work that students are doing, but it doesn't mean that a parent's going to be able to go home that night and sit down with them and work with them, but provide as many opportunities as possible on our campus to say, hey, can you let your child stay after school? Can you allow them to
Wonderful.
get tutoring after school? And again, going back to the Ivy Tech connection, we have two young ladies who come to our school every Monday and Wednesday, volunteers, and they tutor in nothing but math. And every Monday and Wednesday, they've got 4 to 5, sometimes 10 students all sitting around them, just trying to get better at
Awesome.
algebra, which
Yes.
is like, since time began.
Can I come?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think that the number one thing you can do with parents is make sure that you have a bridge of trust, right? And once you build a relationship with a parent, making sure that they know that they're not alone in this battle. I've had a lot of challenges in my life. I don't have one child, and that was the biggest challenge I ever had, right? And I'm not sure if I succeeded in it, right? So I know how difficult parenting is, and so just making sure that they know that they have someone to walk beside them. And what's happening at Wayne High School, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. Yeah, they had all the partnerships and the technology to move kids forward. It's the leadership.
Yes.
The leadership and the culture that John has created in that school is amazing. That's why you're seeing these amazing results. So leadership matters.
And having watched him over the years, this principal cares about children, and children know that they care about them.
Thank you.
And I know the interaction. He's hands-on. He's high energy, even though he's not a teenager. He's still high energy. He
Appreciate that.
reaches out and touches. So he's on the floor. He's greeting students. He has the energy of, I want to say Simone. He's just really jumping through the real high hoops here. But I have really enjoyed working with him for
Thank you.
sure. And I'm looking forward to his next as well. So I don't know how much time we have, but I was going to ask them, what's next?
Yes.
If you were going to identify your next, what would your next be for each of you?
You go first.
You know what? I've learned just to continue to do the work and allow God to kind of direct my footsteps. Like
Amen.
I can predict what's next. If I had to predict where I would be at right now in my stage in life, it wouldn't have been here. Right. So I just allow myself to be a servant to those in every opportunity I get, and then I allow God to kind of lead me that direction, because I've learned that my plan is never His plan.
And his plan prevails.
All right.
and it's
Yes.
all good.
And I mean, I think of all this year in particular, I've really tried to focus on just in bite-sized chunks, and so I try to look at data every 2 weeks. I try to see it's just how do we get better? How do we get better? And I talked a little bit about earlier before we came on, sustainability is like
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to think we're sustainable, and so things that we have our hands in, how do you make that sustainable and put it in a good spot? Because I think we are always going to be able to entrust our schools into good people, and just making sure that we have our schools where they need to be, and our students are forward thinking and positive about their futures. And so that's what I work on every 2 weeks, just a new goal and trying to make a difference in that manner.
Awesome.
All right.
Please share your contact information, both John and Joe.
Well, the best way to me is email. So it's going to be it's the typical John JOHN .Hauser HOUSER at fwcs.k12.in.us.
You can reach me variety of ways. My office is at 2609 Fairfield Avenue, which is on the corner of Pontiac in Fairfield. My website is www.bgcfw.org, or you can email me at jjordan@bgcfw.org.
Once again, we thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us today on The Future is Now. You're truly local leaders making a global impact. And once again, we are out of time. Bishop.
And just remember that the future is for those who prepare now. And it's just great to hear all of the opportunities that we're giving our community so that students can prepare now, because the future is right now.